I do want to make sure we at least talk a little bit about how to just adopt a slower lifestyle just in general and be more present. And a lot of that is that war against technology and all the things that are competing for our attention.
Yeah.
As you look at your own life and the church that you lead, how, and I know you just took your staff, like you said, through a rule of life. What boundaries do you set or guardrails do you set to help you manage technology well, to help you manage your presence well? Do you have any wisdom there?
Yeah, I mean, we've done a couple things. It always changes. I'm always tinkering because I'm always weaseling my way into unhealthy, phone consumption or digital consumption. I try to, like this morning, I woke up and I was really intrigued to see what happened with the election results. But I thought God be like, don't touch your phone for an hour. Like, be awake for 1 hour before you look. And that's pretty much a rule that I try to do. Don't make it the first. I have my phone is in my bathroom, so I don't go to sleep with it next to my bed. And if the alarm goes off in the bathroom, I have to get up and go get it, so I don't look up and just like scroll on my phone. So I'd make it the not first thing I look at. I try to set a bedtime for my phone at the end of the day, where like after a certain time, I put it away and put it to bed the same way you would a kid. Obviously, last night I didn't because the midterm elections. Whenever this gets publicized, you'll know that we're talking whenever we are. I have a 15-minute block on Instagram. So after 15 minutes, it automatically shuts off and I have to go like put in a pin. The apps that I'm most likely to waste time on are actually not on my phone. I have to go search them on the search tab just to make it harder for myself to get there. We don't really touch our phones much on the Sabbath, which is something we're really trying to make a priority. And then another rule that I've been good at sometimes and other times bad at is I try to make it a rule to only do one screen at a time. I think you'd be shocked at how often you're staring at multiple screens at one time, like having your phone out while you're doing something on the computer, or working on your computer while the TV's on, or scrolling on your phone while you're watching the game. And like that level of just manic distraction is conditioning your brain to want something that is completely unrealistic. And surely the still quiet presence of God is not going to compete with our immediate gratification conditioning. So, those are a couple from a technological standpoint. For rule of life stuff, I had a staff member today come up to me and he was like, hey, I've been really discouraged. I've been trying to run after rule of life and having what we call digital hygiene. And he's like, I'm really frustrated. Can you make a new pin on my phone so that when my phone locks me out from social media, I can't log in until the next day? Or if I really need it, I have to come to you and have you rewire it. And it's someone who I have close proximity with, so it works. And we live in the same neighborhood. But he made it so someone not even in his own home has access to the pin on his phone, so he can't cheat the system.
Yeah.
So, I don't have games on my phone at all. I just tend to be like, I don't think I'm an addicted person, an addictive personality, but I know if I have games on my phone, I'm going to be an absent father. I'm going to be an absent spouse. I'm going to be distracted at work. I'm going to be a lazy pastor. So those are a couple of things that come to mind.
Yeah.
But they're just, those are deeply spiritual. They're just, it comes from believing we are not independent, autonomous, brilliant people who are immune to the multi-billion-dollar industry of social media. We are. David Foster Wallace has that story of two fish swimming in the water, and an older fish swims by, and the older fish goes, hey, how's the water? And the younger fish go, what the heck is water? Because the younger fish don't realize they're fish. They're just a natural product of the environment. And it's like we have to come to grips with that process of counterformation. How are we being conformed by these devices so that we can begin the process of counterformation so that we can step into the transformation that occurs when we actually step back from the device. So all of those things I just listed feel super, super simple, but they're my sad attempt to counterform myself out of the ways I have already been formed by the world.
Yeah. I've always really admired that about you too. Your self-awareness and then willingness to put those practices into place that protect your attention, your awareness, and your presence on what's most important.
Thanks,
And I
man.
remember you had a episode of your podcast, The White Flag, which I'll talk about in a moment, which is amazing. But where you talked about Wordle in the morning and how
Dude, yes.
and I think I was struggling with the same thing at that time. Like, I didn't want to touch my phone for an hour, but I really wanted to play Wordle and get my score in before the rest of the family got their score in.
Yeah, dude.
But I've always really been challenged by your commitment to giving your best attention to the right priorities.
That's a good way to put it.
And even the way when you were talking about one screen at a time, I'm like, okay, yes, that's a new rule for me, because that second screen can sneak in.
Oh yeah, 100%. And if I had someone remind me, they actually didn't, it just came out of the conversation. Like, it felt like God brought both of us to this place. But my deep desire for my children to reject the addictive tendencies of social media is actually being established now by what they see in my behavior. So by me wanting them to just never want to be on their phone and want to go outside and read books, it's like, what example am I setting right now so they would be independent of this machine of addiction? And that gives me greater conviction and purpose to make good decisions. Now, I'm not perfect, like my kids my daughters will clean up toys. I'm like, Dad, you can go. They said, Dad, we'll clean up. You sit down and play on your phone. And I was like, so grossed out by that. Like, they projected that me resting meant I had to be on my phone. Did it change my behavior that day? No, I still got out my phone. But, my kids are all the data from Jonathan Haidt. He's a professor at NYU, about how our phones are harming children, especially teenage girls specifically. Like, there's even secular people who are coming around to this, which I think only proves the rhythms of Jesus that you and I are so passionate about.